Thank you, Rich, so much. Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing? Good. It's a pleasure to be here. Actually, it's not a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here. I am honored to have the opportunity to speak with you all today. See, there are folks up. This is an amazing, amazing day. Thank the commissioner, the various commissioners for their leadership in making sure that all of our kids get the supports and services and have the opportunity to ultimately be successful. And Rich, to the Federation, thank you so much for your leadership and your advocacy and your dedication and your commitment and tireless efforts to improving outcomes for kids with disabilities and their families. Thank you so much to the Federation. So the mission of my office, which is the Office of Special Ed and Rehab Services, is to ensure access to and excellence in education, employment, and community living. That's the mission of my office. And we have a cradle-to-career strategy from infant and toddlers, early intervention programs, preschool programs, IDA, higher education, vocational rehabilitation, independent living. We have a research arm. So we are cradle-to-career in providing supports, the continuum of supports and services to individuals with disabilities and their families. And I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing at the department. But before I do that, I really need to set the context and to give you the framework in which we're operating at the department. We all know, generally, that too many of our kids are entering kindergarten without the skills to be successful, entering kindergarten not ready to succeed. We know that too many of our kids are dropping out of school. We know that too many of our kids are graduating from high school without the skills to actually be successful in college and career. A majority of entering students into community college have to take at least one remedial class in reading or math. The more remedial courses individual students have to take, the less likely they are to persist and graduate from college, because they have to spend their money, their Pell Grants, their student loans, and they don't get credit for those courses. So we need to make sure that our kids graduate from high school and graduate with the skills to be successful. We know that the outcomes for kids that don't are challenging at best. But you know what? It's more than a moral imperative. This is actually an economic imperative. A generation ago, the United States led the world in college attainment, and today we rank 12th. So President Obama has said this is more than a moral imperative, this is an economic imperative. The countries that out-educate us today outcompete us tomorrow. So he has set a goal that by 2020, the year 2020, the United States will lead the world in college attainment. That means post-secondary completion, whether it's a certificate, a credential, an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree. We will lead the world in college attainment by 2020. So that is our North Star at the Department of Education. That is our aspirational goal, to do everything we can to lead the world in college attainment by the year 2020. And while we've made incredible, incredible strides over these last 20, 30 plus years, if we do not do a better job of improving outcomes for the millions of students with disabilities, we are not going to achieve the president's goal. So we must do everything we can to make sure that our kids leave high school with the set of skills, with the education and the preparation to be successful in college and career. That all of our kids have the skills to be successful and enjoy economic self-sufficiency and independence and full community participation. So what are we doing in OSERS? That's our office, Office of Special Ed and Rehab Services. We have identified a set of values that is the foundation of our work, is embedded in our work, informs our work every day. And those values are inclusion, equity, and opportunity. Promoting inclusion, ensuring equity, and creating opportunities for individuals with disabilities. It is the expectation that our kids will learn and thrive and develop alongside their peers in inclusive educational settings. It is the expectation that our kids will have equitable opportunities, will have equitable access to the curriculum. Kids cannot learn the content if they don't have access to the content. And the expectation that our kids will have the opportunities to leave high school to be college and career ready and enjoy economic self-sufficiency and independence and full community participation. You know, 35 years of research shows that kids with disabilities do better when they are held to high standards and have access to the general curriculum. It's not a theory. 35 years of research shows that kids with disabilities do better when they are held to high standards and have access to the general curriculum. Yeah, right? Someone clapped, right? Yep. That's it. I'm done. Thank you very much, right? Like, that's it. We also know the research shows that teachers' expectations of students have a direct impact on their performance. Their belief that students can actually do the work and learn has a direct impact on performance. We have to change the culture of expectations. And it starts with you. It starts with our parents. You know, I was talking with some parents yesterday, and this one young woman said, parents are the change agents. I loved that. Parents are the change agents. You're going to make the difference. You're going to set those expectations. No, not my kid can't or won't. No, my kid can. My kid has skills. My kid can and will and is able to. It's changing the culture of expectations. The parent centers are so absolutely critical to making sure that our parents have the tools and the resources and the information to be our change agents. Federation is an incredibly perfect example of the role that parent centers play. Young people, frankly, have expectations for themselves. Young people with disabilities, 4 out of 5 students with disabilities in this country say their primary goal in high school is to go to college, alongside their peers. That applies for students with disabilities and students without disabilities. The expectations are high for students themselves. We need to make sure that everybody has those same high expectations. Participation in post-secondary education has so many benefits. Students are more likely to get jobs, earn more, have better benefits. Students with intellectual disabilities do better when they participate in post-secondary education. They're more likely to live independently. They're more likely to have savings accounts and checkings accounts and credit cards. They're more likely to see their friends more often and participate in community and volunteer service. And they're more likely to vote and have a driver's license. So we know the benefits are real. The benefits are important. We need to get there. We need to set those expectations. Starts early. It's got to start early with high quality early learning. We have the same high expectations for our youngest babies with delays and disabilities that all parents have for their kids. We have those same expectations that our kids are going to be able to develop and learn and thrive alongside their peers. It's the ability, the right for children and family to fully participate in community and school and society. Children with disabilities are children first. They also need access to high quality early learning. You know, we have these incredible, I got to spend the day with some early intervention providers yesterday. I met some parents, I met some kids. There's actually a video of me sitting on the floor, like doing the eensy-weensy spider with some kids in the program in East Boston at the Harbor program, the early intervention program. It was fantastic. It was a great day. Early intervention services are absolutely critical to making sure that our kids have the opportunities to be successful, to get the supports and services that they need so they can enter kindergarten ready to succeed. We have these fantastic 619 preschool programs. 619 is the section of the statute that provides IDEA services to preschool kids starting at age 3. Do you know that, though, a majority of kids in these preschool programs are either in segregated settings or get their IDEA services in pullouts? You know what? Our kids need to thrive and develop and learn alongside their peers. But you know what? It's not that surprising, because fewer than 3 in 10 4-year-olds in this country have access to high-quality early learning, high-quality preschool. Fewer than 3 in 10 children in this country, fewer than 3 in 10 4-year-olds have access to high-quality preschool in this country. So it's no wonder the high-quality preschools aren't there to provide those really critical services and supports that early interventions and 619 services provide to our kids so they can learn and develop and thrive alongside their peers. This administration has invested so significantly in high-quality early learning. It is a priority for the president. It is a priority for Secretary Duncan. You know, we have invested over $1 billion in Race to the Top Early Learning Challenge grants to help states create high-quality early learning systems for high-needs kids. The president has proposed preschool for all, universal access to high-quality preschool for all 4-year-olds. It's a heavy lift, but it is a priority for the president. It is a priority for Secretary Duncan. We need to make sure that our kids have the services and supports that are necessary to enter kindergarten with the ability to be successful in high-quality early learning systems. Once they get on, it is again, in K through 12, is it about expectations? It is about college and career-ready standards. Kids cannot learn the content if they don't have access to the content. Expectations, access to rigorous coursework, the supports and services and special ed and accommodations that are necessary to be successful in the general curriculum. IEP goals that are aligned with standards, with college and career-ready standards. And teachers, our educators, the front line that are doing this work every single day, need the tools and the resources and the supports to do everything they can to make sure all kids get what they need to be successful. You know, we're at this incredible time in the country of reform, and Commissioner Chester talked about this. There's so much reform going on with adoption of college and career-ready standards. Almost every state in the country has adopted new, rigorous, high-quality college and career-ready standards, which will say that when our kids leave high school, they can enter the first year of college without the need for remediation. That's what the standards are about, is making sure that our kids have the education and the skills so that they can be successful in their first year of college without the need for remediation. This is hard work. This is hard work for our kids. This is hard work for all kids. But you know what? We know how to do this because, you know, as you all know, in addition to the 30 years of research that shows that kids with disabilities, we have evidence-based practices and strategies and resources that improve learning opportunities for kids with disabilities and improve learning opportunities for all kids, like principles of universal design and multi-tiered systems of support. There are research-based strategies that will not only help students with disabilities do better, but will help all kids do better. And we need to make sure that our educators have the tools and the supports and the resources to get us to this really high bar. It's so important. I talked a little bit about equity, and I want to just for a minute, celebrating 40 years here, there's been so much great progress. We all know that 30, 40 years ago, millions of students with disabilities were refused enrollment in public schools because local school districts said they were uneducable. So we were permitted to refuse enrollment. So we know we've come so far that over 60% of students with disabilities spend at least 80% of their time in the general classroom. That's fantastic. We've made incredible progress. But that also means that 40% are not. I had the opportunity to join Secretary Duncan about a year or so ago. We went to Topeka, Kansas, to the Brown versus Board of Education Museum. And he gave this great civil rights speech, and it was really an amazing day. And if anybody has been to Topeka and seen the site, it is affirming for the work that we do every day. In Brown versus Board of Education, the Supreme Court said, separate but equal is inherently unequal. There are states in this country that systemically remove kids from the general context. We know that students with disabilities are disproportionately subject to discipline practices that exclude them from the classroom. I'll say that again, right? Students of color and students with disabilities of color are disproportionately subject to discipline practices that take them away from learning. Does that make sense to anybody? Kids that may need it the most are getting it less. Backwards. So at the department, we've issued this discipline guidance that I think is incredibly important, that talks about the disparities under our civil rights laws, that some of these discipline practices are against the law. We've provided the resources and principles and tools to ensure that all of our kids have the opportunities to learn and thrive in learning environments that are safe and healthy and positive. Around frameworks like positive behavior interventions and supports, PBIS, multi-tiered systems of support, that research shows improves academic outcomes, behavior outcomes, engagement outcomes, reduces referrals to the principal's office, reduces suspensions. We know how to do this. We know how to do this in special ed. We have 30 plus years of research-based strategies. We need to make sure that our parents understand what is available. We need to make sure that our educators have the tools and the resources to ultimately ensure that our kids have the opportunities to be successful. The opportunities are great. There is reform everywhere, and they're figuring it out now. They're figuring out how to do it today, how to roll out these new high-quality standards. They're figuring it out today. We need to be at the table. We need to ensure that as they're rolling out, as they're transitioning to whether it's Common Core or college and career-ready standards, that our voices are heard and our resources are available to help all kids be successful. Our principles of universal design and multi-tiered systems of support, which have great research behind them, that improve outcomes for students with disabilities as well as all kids. It's looking for those opportunities. I do it every day in Washington in the department. I look for opportunities, and Commissioner Chester talked about the effort to turn around our lowest performing schools. It's called SIG, School Improvement Grants. And we have invested, as a federal government, over $5 billion, or just about $5 billion to turn around our lowest performing schools. This is hard work, to turn around our lowest performing schools. This is controversial, it's challenging, it's hard, but there's so much energy and commitment to doing this hard work. We know that these schools disproportionately serve special ed students. I can't tell you how many principals of these schools, these SIG schools, I've met with that have said, yeah, our special ed rate is about 25%. So for me, it's taking, so how do we, if there's $5 billion and efforts and energies to turn around these lowest performing schools, I'm trying to figure out how to leverage those opportunities and leverage those resources because our kids are in those schools. We need to make sure that they, as they move forward, have the tools and the resources and understand the evidence-based practices that improve outcomes for all kids. It's ultimately looking for opportunities because at the end of the day, we can't do this alone. We need to ensure we have our partnerships, that we utilize technology. We have access to technology, right? It's not just using technology, it's accessible technology. We have committed to ensuring that 99% of school districts have wireless broadband within the next 5 years. That's game-changing. But as we do, we may need to make sure that our technology is accessible. So at the end of the day, this is about leveraging resources. This is about creating partnerships. It's about exploiting opportunities to do better for our kids. Our diversity is our strength in this country, and we cannot afford to waste an ounce of our talent. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Have a fantastic, fantastic conference. Thank you for everything that you do.